Hey, what's up, you guys? It's IAmTheLionRider. Last time on Roger Williams, we worked on the gibbon habitat and the food court of the zoo. And off camera, I made a few changes to the park overall just to help us plan better. You may have noticed I added this beautiful sign. So this is an accurate map of the zoo, pixelated. I basically manually went in. And for some of the designs that we're going to be doing in this episode, I'm probably going to be using the same technique for some of the mosaics that are in World of Adaptations. So this sign and this little pavilion is a lot more accurate than what we originally had. Uh, if we just go over here. So obviously big change, looks a lot more realistic. But on a bigger scale, if we scroll over here, as you can see, I've made a lot of changes to this half of the map. So basically, as you can see, what I've basically done is just further, highlighted the remainder of our build. So here we have World of Adaptations, the Barnyard, and Faces of the Rainforest, as well as the Education Center. So this was all just to help me map out the rest of the thing, just because I feel like it was getting so vague that, it almost seemed like, oh, is this ever going to get done? In order to do that and to make some room for World of Adaptations, it's going to be snug, not going to lie, but I think I've worked it out that we should have just barely enough room for the Babarusa and Binturong. They might be a little smaller than usual, and I had to shift over the gibbon habitat, so that's a little bit different. But past that, yeah, so today we're going to be working on World of Adaptations. We're going to start that. That should be exciting. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. And welcome back. So after that little brief intro, we are jumping right into World of Adaptations. I am joined with San today.
Hey guys.
And yeah, so basically World of Adaptations, very large build, and it's kind of detailed, so I'm probably going to split this building into maybe 3 or 4 parts. It's going to be quite a bit to cover. So yeah, just discussing what we're doing. Basically, off camera, I know San saw me do this a few days ago. I used those gutter end pieces to basically make a little pixel art version of a little like palm tree a mural that's on the front entrance to World of Adaptations. So I just basically, instead of redoing it, I just literally copied it and just threw it in there. Which is fine because later on in the video you see me using those kind of like pixel art mural pieces a lot more. But right now I'm just going around the outline of the exhibit and basically just replacing the walls and stuff with just wall patterning that's a little bit more accurate. So this is just using bamboo. I had to extend the building a little bit just because the building in real life has a little bit of inaccuracy to the Planet Zoo grid system, so I wanted to fix that up. But yeah, I mean, World of Adaptations is just it's an interesting theme. I know San knows a little bit about the history of the building, because it used to be the Australasia building, which, they've since, kind of renamed due to... I'll be completely honest, I think the only reason they changed the name of it to World of Adaptations is exclusively the addition of the river otters.
Yeah.
Just because...
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, just because every other animal in World of Adaptations and the surrounding area is still either from Asia or Australia, of course, or the surrounding, Oceania in islands. So the river otters are the weird ones,
Yeah, river otters and king vultures actually.
Oh yeah, that is true. Well, see, where do king vultures come from? Because they used to be kept back when they had before Faces of the Rainforest. It used to be kept outside of the Tropical America building.
Yeah, king vultures are native to South America. So...
Gotcha. So that makes sense because they used to be kept right outside of like the old Tropical America building, kind of next to the giant anteaters. But yeah, they've since moved them to the now defunct aviary in World of Adaptations. They basically made a little temporary cage, and now that's just where the king vulture resides. But past that, all the other animals that are in World of Adaptations, the tree kangaroo, Komodo dragon, the wrinkled hornbill, wallabies, babirusa, binturong, all of that still technically, Australasian in nature. Which is funny because later in this video, you see me, there still is a sign that says Australasia on the building to this day. Just because it's like a mosaic where it's like actually tiled pieces, and so I guess they just didn't want to remove it.
Yeah, I don't see them providing a reason to. And according to the master plan, it looks like they're keeping the Australasia theme and moving the river otters to like a new space.
Yeah, so it looks like the king vulture might be on the way out. I think that is probably going to be the only animal that, at least that I can tell, that's kind of on the way out immediately. Because the master plan has always had it so that the outdoor area, which is currently home to the wallaby, otters, binturong, and babirusa, was going to be converted to another kangaroo walkabout area. So we're getting that back. It's just going to take up the entire back area where the outdoor exhibits are. So the river otters are likely just moving to the North American section. I'm not sure where in particular. Likely this would be done around the same time as with us getting grizzly bears, so I can assume probably where the muntjacs are right now.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty viable space to put otters and all that, especially with like an a proper underwater viewing area.
Yeah, so like that's kind of my guess is where they're gonna go based off of like a few of the concept art pieces of the master plan. But that could change. I don't see them removing the otters. They make them a lot of money, just because everyone loves otters. And North American river otters are cute, unlike their,
They're terrifying
terrifying cousins from the Face of the Rainforest building that are the size of me, and I'm a 6-foot grown man. But yeah, so I think they'll probably stay, but who knows? But the babirusa and the binturong are unfortunately going to be on the way out, which kind of stinks. My girlfriend Julie, however, will be very happy. She despises babirusa with a passion. For the babirusa episode, I want to have her on because it might be another Peacock situation where she just rants about how she hates babirusa. Just because I think it'll be funny. But
I mean, yeah, babirusa get a lot. Babirusa I actually find very interesting animals because of the way their tusks grow and all that. Like, if they live long enough, then their tusks actually grow in such a way that they curve backwards and actually have the possibility to impale their brains. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why Julie hates them. She's like they're nature's suicide animal. They're biologically suicidal. Like, and unintentionally too. Like it's not like they're like, hey, I want to die already. They're just like, oh yeah, I'm doing really well in the world. Look at how big my tusks are. Oh boy, I have a headache now. Huh, this is getting kind of worse. And then they just drop dead. Like, now I'll be honest. I think that's just kind of a weird rumor that's happened about babirusa. I don't actually think that's a common thing that happens. Because I don't know how many documented cases of babirusa's impaling themselves to death is recorded. I know it's probably happened, like, for that to come up. But I don't think it's a common issue, per se.
Yeah.
I did want to address this. So what I start doing now is the detailing of the inside of the building. So if anyone's wondering or whatever why the building has like the gross like classic themed glass set and stuff, that is all temporary. All the Arctic wood, Australian metal pieces and the glass are literally just temporary, just so that I could map out the shape of the building. Because I basically like went over, as you saw in the intro, and like basically mapped out the entire layout of the zoo. So just to get the building shape right from like a top-down perspective, I made sure to, okay, this is where the habitats go, etc. Which later on in the video, you actually see me fixing some stuff for that reason, because some of the stuff wasn't accurate and I had to fix it. So that big clock tower style roof that I did technically is wrong in the current iteration that you see me doing, and I go back later and fix it because it's supposed to be connected to the outdoor wall, if that makes any sense. So I thought it was like a clock tower. It's like a half clock tower. It's very odd. This is a very bizarre shaped building.
I wonder what the architectural. I wonder what was the mindset behind the architecture. Like, gee, let's have this clock tower looking thing, or let's have this sort of 1970s, 1980. Or actually, when was this opened again?
World of Adaptation. See, the issue with a lot of this stuff is it was all made before I was born, so it's been there like my whole life. However, it was, I don't know how much or how long before I was born, because from what I can tell, a lot of the exhibits that exist are roughly from when right before I was born, so like mid 90s, that sort of thing. So I don't know if World of Adaptations is also in that category. I believe it is.
Oh, 1990s.
1990s, yeah.
Zoo's rebirth continued with the opening of a series of major exhibits, including the Plains of Africa, the Marco Polo Trail, and Australasia.
Yep, exactly. So that was kind of what I was saying about, like, I was born in 98, so literally, like, I think a lot of the exhibit expansions that, I've just grown up with were made right before I was born. So this is what I was saying about changing the building. The clock tower basically like ends halfway, through. So it is still a clock tower. It's just a flat roof on one side, and like.
I mean, yeah, the building overall, based off of what I've seen in Street View and Zoo Chat and all that, it does look really nice.
Yeah, it is like an interesting building, and I think it's kind of. I don't know if you know anything about like what people call like McMansions. But they're basically like mansions that were designed from the inside out. So you basically laid out like, we need a room here, a room here, a room here. I want a really tall building here. I want a big entrance with a window. And then in the end, they're just like, okay, now throw a roof on it. And I think that's kind of what we got with this building. They went, I want a habitat here, I want a habitat here, I want a habitat here. I want you to walk in, see these cool Polynesian tribal masks and foliage and stuff, and a window outside so that it's like a sunlight, so that sun comes through. And then they just went, okay, now throw a roof on it. And you end up with a building like this one where it is very ugly from the outside, but on the inside looks really nice, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
So
what are you building now? Just like the outdoor radiated tortoise pen or something like
yes,
that?
so this is where the radiated tortoises go. I will not be making a mod of them. I don't know, I could possibly still. It's kind of the same vein as the African spurred tortoises I did back during the giraffe episode. I'm not sure if I'll do them. I could, using the algebra, of course, but I think a thing that I wanted to address with World of Adaptations, and I wanted to mention this, is as much as I love mods and love making them for everyone, the next few builds that I do, I am going to have some things that for practicality's sake need to be cut. So I wanted to use a few different workshop prop animals that people like ZZ, I want to like, and Drac and stuff of that nature, Wiser, that they have made for some of these smaller species that I'm just not going to practically be able to do. And that's specifically for World of Adaptations and Faces of the Rainforest. Because while I will be doing some of the bigger animals, like obviously I will be doing the wallaby and babirusa and stuff of that nature. Smaller animals, like when I get to the birds, like the tawnies and the kookaburra and the hornbill, those I'd like to just use props for. And so I know ZZ made some really nice looking radiated tortoises that I wanted to use. So I think that's probably going to be what I do. So basically, what I'm doing right now is I'm working on that mosaic Asia Australia sign that I was talking about before. So this basically I'm using. I keep forgetting. I, in truth, I really don't know how to pronounce the guy's name because it's like Jibensky or something.
Jay
Uh,
Bensky?
yeah, something of that nature. And he basically made the font set that I've always used. I mentioned it every episode. I like Ricey's fonts; they're fine, but for what I do, they're just not practical. And I really like this font using the gutter pieces, and it just overall just helped me because I was once again able to just kind of make these mosaics and stuff a lot easier. So I basically just made the font quick, and then I made something that resembles the mosaic that is on the back entrance of the Australasia building. So I just place it down there. Looks nice. Lags out your game a little bit, but it's okay. So now I'm kind of getting into the detailing on the interior of the building a bit more. So I really like the interior detailing, and it's something that you probably can't find on ZooChat, to be honest, or it's certainly not on Google Earth.
Yeah, you can only find just like the actual habitats inside.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have the recent iteration of the tree kangaroo habitat because the tree kangaroos moved habitats, and of course the hornbills are in their old space.
Yep.
And of course they don't have the Komodo dragon.
Yeah. So weirdly enough, I think I need to post my stuff on ZooChat just because I think I have the most recent up-to-date full overview of each individual habitat, specifically for the indoor buildings, because obviously with coronavirus, it doesn't matter who would be available to go there. You physically can't go into World of Adaptations right now. And I happened to just collect all of my reference photos for World of Adaptations right before the pandemic. So it was like, I think in February. So like a month and a half before, the world ended. Uh, I also wanted to mention I made a nice little exit sign. So, right now I'm just basically going in. You saw that I placed down some of the African masks, and it's because the actual building has like a few Polynesian masks, and I thought the African masks that are in the game work pretty much, in as a good substitute. I could make hypothetical, custom ones or whatever, but I think the ones I made or used are totally fine. They're very similar to the ones in real life. You have basically a long, thin face and then just a generic face. So there's the long, thin face I just posted. And then past that, the rest of the interior is not super complicated in this front foyer. There's a bathroom, obviously, but then past that, the main idea is it's just a big area where you have two sunlights coming in. So you have glass, poking in. And this is another weird thing is like right before the entrance of the building, there's like a little wooden skylight, which is odd, but so what I'm working on right now is stuff that only I work on as far as realism goes, and that's making sure the pipes are accurate in the ceiling. So I'm basically just making sure that I'm basically using my reference photos and getting all the kind of backstage style, pipes and little emergency buttons and icons and that sort of stuff, just in place. But I think finally I start working on the actual tree kangaroo habitat. So, like San was mentioning, the tree kangaroo used to live in the in the current hornbill habitat. So the tree kangaroo basically had this nice, very naturalistic enclosure before. It had trees and branches and leaves and a waterfall, all in the building, and it looked really nice. And it's where the hornbill is now. The exhibit didn't change much besides them moving a few branches around. But they're new.
And removing a massive tree that was in the middle.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Well, and so that massive tree they removed was actually the main detriment of that tree kangaroo habitat. Because the issue with the tree kangaroo is tree kangaroos are very similar to koalas, believe it or not. Um, and it's frankly why I use the koala rig for the mod. But they're very similar in behavior as well, and I feel like people don't realize that. They think they're closer to like kangaroos or maybe like some kind of like arboreal like animals like monkeys or something. They sleep a lot, and so what the tree kangaroo would do 10-15 hours out of the day is just sleep. But where it slept, its favorite spot was behind that big tree. So all you saw was its tail hanging down. And you never actually saw the tree kangaroo. You would just see the tail hanging from this branch. And so I think eventually, when they were, redesigning the Australasia building to become World of Adaptations, I think they saw this as an issue and they went, you know what? Maybe we should address this. What if we built a dedicated, tree kangaroo friendly habitat that makes it better for the guests and the tree kangaroos? So what they did was they basically made this jungle gym, which is great for the tree kangaroos. Which, spoiler alert, there's 2 of them now. And it's because one of them is technically the mother and the daughter, because they had a baby when they brought a male in for a bit. But basically, it's now just a jungle gym, and that's it. And viewers can literally just look at them straight through a glass frame without any obstruction. For the tree kangaroos, it's kind of bad if they were looking for privacy, because the old habitat, they could hide if they felt like, scared or whatever. The new one, it's basically no. They're just, as you can see, surrounded by glass on all sides. And past that, I'm not crazy about the aesthetic of the new enclosure, simply because it's literally just hay on the floor and the jungle gym. But I think it's fine for a viewer standpoint. This was clearly a more visitor-centric enclosure design compared to their old one, which was a lot more. I don't even know if it was more tree kangaroo friendly.
It was more animal friendly. I think it followed the 5 freedoms of. This is something that I actually study when it comes to habitat design and all that. There are 5 freedoms of animal welfare. There's freedom from hunger and thirst, freedom from discomfort, freedom from pain, injury, or disease, freedom to express normal behavior, and freedom from fear and distress. And basically, the old habitat, of course, supported that in spades, and of course, the keepers make sure at least 4 out of the 5 are met. Like, of course, freedom from pain, injury, or disease. Normal behavior, well, with the climbing structure and with the hay, they're free to express however their normal behaviors. Freedom from hunger and thirst, that's a given. Freedom from fear and distress, they're in a climate-controlled environment. Freedom from discomfort, well, that's a bit of a tricky area because, well, the issue with privacy and all that, like you mentioned.
Yeah, so I think, because I think that was kind of the trade-off, is just the new habitat is obviously very open. It's just literally a box for them. In a weird way, it's kind of backwards thinking, and I was kind of surprised about this from like a zoo standpoint. It's kind of backwards from most zoos. Also, I should mention what I'm doing right now. Basically, I'm using those pieces to try and make the new World of Adaptation sign, and even though I included this in the video, I eventually scrapped this in favor of a much better sign. But back to the tree kangaroo habitat. It is like interesting because in a weird way, like I almost feel like it was kind of a backwards, idea where like they put the guests' interests first and then went like, okay, well, all they need is food in a climbing structure. They don't need anything else or whatever in their enclosure. And so it's nice to see them easier, but I don't know if it's necessarily better than their old one. For their sake, at least. It's hard to tell, obviously, because they're animals. But basically moving on, this portion is where I actually build the very large World of Adaptations logo. I just skipped ahead there. Basically, I'm using gutter pieces to basically construct the entire logo out.
Gutter pieces, the world's Planet Zoo's most versatile tool.
Oh yeah, yeah. The only shame of gutter pieces is when you zoom out, they disappear because they're so small. So like if you make like a big sign like this where it says World of Adaptations, at a certain point in the game, it just literally like just makes it so that it goes invisible, which is a little bit of a shame, but you know, I think it's, you know, to be expected. Like, you know, obviously I'm using it for a very interesting, you know, idea. But I really liked the font work I did with this. I tried to match the font of the actual sign the best I could. And it was at this point that I realized the murals that I made using the pixel art were way too small. So this is where I then went, nope, I'm just going to make it similar to how I made the snake, for those who remember the Snake Den episode. I'm basically using primitive pieces to construct out the animals, which luckily, because I was going for making them bigger, I was able to add more detail than I could with the little like mosaic, or I call them mosaics just because it's pixel art. But literally just like using the gutter pieces.
Yeah, initially I couldn't tell what animals were on the pixel art when I was first looking at those.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm seeing it with the primitives, like it genuinely looks a lot better.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to tell. Like, so for instance, this is the Komodo dragon. The first one looks like it could be a dinosaur, it could be a bird, it could be... Now, the thing with Komodo dragons in general is they're not extremely unique looking animals. They're just kind of a generic looking lizard, but big. So naturally it's not that crazy. But you really see it with the Babirusa. The Babirusa, like, you know, I was able to get a lot more detailed with the face shape and that sort of thing. The tusks, I was able to add a little bit more detail, and I was also able to do better shading on the, like, you know, underside. I could add like little like color variation and stuff. So there's the Babirusa that I'm working on now. I was able to add the little bottom tusk, and then I just quickly added a little group of, I guess, half circle pieces to do shadows, and I made little wrinkles using gutters as well. Now this one is the only one I'm not super proud of, I'm not gonna lie. This is supposed to be a gibbon hand reaching on a branch. So I basically used some of the long gutter pieces to act as fingers. I might go back and change this because I wasn't crazy about this one in particular, because it reads kind of as a hand if I say it, but like obviously it's still not ideal. And then the last one, of course, is the wrinkled hornbill, which I definitely struggled with the most because wrinkled hornbills have a lot of colors. They have like blue eyes, or blue around their eyes, black eyes, 4 different colors in their horn and bill. Get it? And then like their body is white, but their neck is black. It's a real like weird, you know, thing. But I think I managed to pull it off pretty well. I just had to move some stuff around, and I think it looks pretty decent. So yeah, I think I really liked how I did the World of Adaptation sign. I think it came out pretty good. And I really love the Australia wood that I was able to use, because I think it just looks really good. Like when it's
and also fits the theme, like Australia.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was kind of glad I was able to use some of the Australia pieces for this, because, you know, I kind of like seeing when a game update, or when the game updates, that I'm able to use the new stuff practically and not just have to be like, oh well, back to Old Faithful with my East Asia planks. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of nice when I can be like, oh look, I can use these South American temple pieces for custom rocks, or I can use the in this case the Australia wood and stuff. And what's funny is, you know, the Australia map art piece that's kind of made out of like the wood?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, the old Australasia sign had something looking exactly like that. So I was almost tempted, like if I do another throwback episode like I did with the polar bear, which I think I might. I think I might want to do like almost like a past, present, and future series, and like after this series wraps up with Roger Williams, that I can kind of mix stuff up and like include you know, like what the old Australasia building looked like, what, you know, the master plan has for their tiger habitat, the sea lion habitat, etc. Um, and yeah, so basically right now what I wanted to do was just kind of clean up the exterior of the building and kind of make it realistic, which I noticed right here the plants I'm placing down now were a pain because I kept noticing they were poking through the indoor portion of the building, and I didn't want that, so I had to like keep messing with like the bushes and like choose different plants. Also, this was a thing that I found interesting, that I like this technique. I don't know if other people use it. There's a few dyeable flowers in the game, right, that I feel like people aren't aware of, and it's just because I went to just out of curiosity, I went to the nature tab and then just looked up Flexicolor, and I was like, oh, I'm able to actually dye certain flowers. And so if you take those dyeable flowers and like add them into bushes and stuff, you get like a lot more plant variety, just by like adding some color. Also, as you can see, I'm making a little fire hydrant, which I'm surprised no one on the workshop has made a fire hydrant. It's very odd. Like, I thought that would have been like an obvious thing with like all the like, you know, real world application stuff that people do, but apparently not. So I did like, you know, that little fire hydrant. It's not a good fire hydrant, I'll say that, but it is a fire hydrant. And then past that, there's just like a little bit more like wiring, and there's an air conditioner right there on the side of the building. And then past that, I think I just here I kind of dart around back to the gibbon habitat to clean up a few things that I did from last time since I moved the whole gibbon habitat. But past that, I'm just, you know, once again, cleaning up stuff. Do you know what, like, this means as far as, like, a sign goes? It's an H with an arrow through it.
An H with an arrow through it. I'm not familiar with it.
I'm not either. Like, it's almost like, is this supposed to be, like, I know there's, like, hospital signs use the H, but there's certainly not a hospital at the zoo, I don't think, right? And why would it be in the World of Adaptations building? So yeah, I'm not really sure. That was like an odd thing that like I was just thinking of.
I actually like the technique you're doing with like the actual door and all that, and you're using like the habitat door.
Yeah.
What's with the outdoor pen that's next to the tree kangaroos? What's that hold?
Yeah, so that holds nothing, which is the weird thing. It is like an actual pen, much like the radiated tortoise one, but it literally has nothing in it.
Did it have anything in the past?
Nope. It's always just been empty. It's just always had foliage.
Huh.
It's very odd, like but they still have the same kind of like bamboo aesthetic and stuff.
I feel like that's actually the perfect spot to put an exhibit. Hell, you could probably put the tree kangaroo. You could do a tree
like a little outdoor area. Yeah, that's not a bad idea actually. And then just rounding out this episode, just to make things complicated, I made a custom door. So I was looking at the doors in the game, and just nothing was meeting the aesthetic that I needed for like a double wide glass door, if that makes any sense. So basically, I just used the glass pieces and my East Asian planks and just made a custom, you know, door. And then I used some of the light fixture holder things, something of that nature, as the door handles. And then obviously once I made one door, I just copied it to the other door. There you go. There's me just placing my little doorknobs.
Yeah, it fits the 90s aesthetic that you're going for.
Yeah, I think I really like this design of door, and I kind of wish the game had something like it. Just because it's literally just like now of course the guests walk right through them, but yeah. So that's the episode. So this is my tree kangaroo mod. Not much to say. It does everything a tree kangaroo does. It eats, it yawns, it lays down. It'll climb up the climbing frame I made. And yeah. So, like I said, that's part 1 of World of Adaptations. Part 2 will be out soon. That'll be going over the Komodo dragon with the Education Center. And then, yeah. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
See you guys.